The fans in attendance expected the Macho Man Randy Savage to appear. But the day of the show, the promoter said, "I'm sorry, he will not be here. But do not worry, we have a substitute. It's a second-generation talent." The fans got all excited. Who could it be? Oh, it'll be Brian Christopher. Oh, really? And the shots they rang out, oh my goodness. This company doesn't seem to understand. What the fans want is great wrestling, and not somebody who was really bland. Back here in Paradise, Nevada, I'm John Renton with the Retro Review of World Wrestling All-Stars, the Revolution 2002. Well, that was a weird-ass musical intro, wasn't it? What'd you think of this show? Let me know in the comments. This was not a very good pay-per-view. Honestly, the World Wrestling All-Stars was a good concept. They had some pretty big crowds, and they utilized some good talent, used some good talent, and misused a lot of talent. And they were only in existence for like about a year and a fucking half. And they had 5 pay-per-views during that time. 1 in 2001, 3 in 2002, and then 1 more in 2003. And oh boy, even though there were a couple decent moments on this one, it was a fucking mess. Yes, in that horrible, horrible intro, they had advertised Macho Man Randy Savage being in attendance and facing off against Jeff Jarrett for the World Heavyweight Championship of the WWA. But then there was an announcement made that he wasn't going to be there, and any advertising had an X over him. Why was he not there? Well, it could have been a pay dispute. Could have been the fact that Randy Savage was, "I don't want to be here. That doesn't work for me. I'm going to go over here, yeah." Sorry for the bad Randy Savage impression. I love Randy Savage. Randy Savage was always better than Hollywood Hulk Hogan or Thunderlips, whatever you want to call him. Those are my takes. But yeah, this show, really big fucking mess. And oh boy, am I going to tell you why. So there were 2,800 fans in attendance. It looked like some kind of concert hall. And it was at the Aladdin Casino Center. And depending on what research shows, it either has a capacity of about 4,000 or 7,000. I don't know if the 7,000 was for the old venue or maybe they just decided to only use half the goddamn concert hall. It was a bit weird. We got Discount Creed singing "Revolution, Revolution." They just kept saying the word revolution, thinking that, okay, we will just drill this into their fucking heads. And then we get a video package, an intro, and my God, this is like straight out of the worst times of WCW, and it's a shame because there was some good potential for a few of the matches to be kind of good, and this was just a precursor to the, some of the early days of NWA TNA when they were just allowed to do a whole bunch of bullshit, and oh boy, it's the only U.S. pay-per-view that the WWA had, and after seeing this, you can probably figure out why. So, very echoey commentary. Jeremy Borash and Mark Madden on commentary. The fans should have been paid to endure Mark Madden on commentary, who still wasn't as bad as he was in the last year at WCW, but then again, there's no way he could have been any fucking worse than that. That was really, really abysmal. Disco Inferno joined commentary later, just to further prove that they didn't give a shit about this show. So, a 6-man cruiserweight survival elimination match. Even the ring announcer struggled to say that. I had to write it down so I didn't screw it up. Nova, who would later become Simon Dean with the Simon System, Low Key, Shark Boy, AJ Styles, Tony Mamaluke, and Christopher Daniels. 2 people in, you got a tag to get in. Okay, so this match went about 20 minutes, and I would argue should have gone, it was elimination, but you could have gone about 13, 14 maybe, and it would not have been a miss. This went on a bit too long. I would have argued that, nothing against Mamaluke, he was fine. Shark Boy was what he was, but you could have really just done a 4-way here, and you could have just done a dark match with a couple guys and done a tag match to pop the crowd. I would have gone with Nova, AJ Styles, Low Key, and Christopher Daniels. That being said, it was okay, but boy, the crowd, there was a lot of darkness in the crowd here because I think there were a lot of empty seats, or they just felt, let's just focus on the ring. Also, the lighting grid stuff, the screens, because they shot it facing the stage, and the grid stuff was just like all sparkly and everything and all jumping with colors, and so it really, really got dizzying and mystifying and actually gave me kind of a headache. So if you have any sensitivity to colors or any possibility of seizures, you may not want to watch this pay-per-view. So we get flippy ships and a lot of we get some good stuff, and it's kind of a car crash, but at the same time, this did, again, drag at some points. There were some moves that should have honestly, knocked out a couple people, but no, they didn't because flippy shit. Low key hits a roll kick and eliminates Shark Boy, and then we get a backdrop off the top. Looked like it injured both Daniels and Mamaluke. Styles Clash eliminates Tony, and then Madden keeps making, bad jokes. Keeps making jokes about hookers having to pay for sex. I honestly believe that with him. Now, there's anything wrong with that, but I honestly believe that nobody, would be willing to go with him unless he paid them. So anyway, more dives. Low-key got eliminated. Second row Styles Clash eliminates Daniels, and a C4 off the top. C4 variation, Nova gets the victory. Okay. And by the way, their next pay-per-view would be maybe 7 weeks after this, and I think it would be in Glasgow, Scotland. So commentary just kills time, and then here's Scott Steiner with all his freaks, and his peaks also. WWA Commissioner Bret Hart. Some fans tried to what him. I hope they had a miserable goddamn time getting home. How dare you what Bret Hart, one of the greatest of all time, you fucking idiots. This was right when Steve Austin had done the whole what chant and gotten it going, and it's one of the worst things that Steve Austin did in the wrestling business. Not one of the worst things he did while involved in the wrestling business. Beats Deborah again because that's what he did. No, yeah, his previous wife. So yeah, Steve, let's move on from that. Bret Hart, unfortunately, would suffer a debilitating stroke either. I'm trying to remember if it was in later 2002 or early 2003. I'm trying to remember the timeline. Because I know that he was not... I know that he wasn't appearing for them very much longer and then would be kind of in isolation and then would show up for the WWE Hall of Fame about 4 years after this. And Randy is not here. Lots of boos. A replacement, I appreciate second-generation talents because Bret Hart himself is a second-generation talent. Stu Hart, one of the, greatest, one of the toughest, and trained so many goddamn people. He says it's going to be Brian Christopher, and boy, was that a lot of indifference. It's nothing personal against Brian Christopher, who was a fine talent, but was never going to get out of the shadow of his dad. But he talked about being in Australia during the aftermath of 9/11, and then suddenly transitioned to talking about the hockey team from Canada winning Olympic gold, but saying, we could, Australia wept with you. We won Olympic gold, and you guys can have Osama bin Laden and do whatever you want with him. This is a very messy promo. I mean, and I just kind of hit the bullet points there, but Bret seemed kind of low. I don't know what Bret was actually saying here. This pay-per-view was dragging by this point. We have some guy called the Funkster. It is the former Wwe, yes, the former Wwe, dressed up like Hogan from the AWA. And he was talking to some midgets that would wrestle later. I'm not joking. Reno, by the way, of the Natural Born Thrillers, and also a guy that feuded with Big Vito for quite a while, took on the Funkster, the former Wwe. What the fuck was this? Why the fuck was this? And Reno would actually be done with wrestling about a year after this. He was only a pro for like 4 or 5 years. Whatever happened to Reno? What's Reno doing now? Answers in the comments, please. Funkster hits a leg drop for 3. There is not much to this. Let's move on. Oh boy. Limo arrives, and Scott Steiner actually has a bunch of his freaks at this point because they were talking about Scott Steiner arriving earlier, and then I, mixed the two things together. Disco Inferno calls Bret a jackass. Oh, Disco, I fucking hate you. And wants a shot at the title, but issues an open challenge, and will sit in on commentary until it's answered. Why are they focusing on commentary squabbles? They're trying to make me choose between Disco Inferno and Mark Madden, when a giant meteor hitting them would actually be more appropriate. So Chronic took on a team named Native Blood, Navajo Warrior, and Ghost Walker, and they beat them in a couple minutes. Chronic did. A lot of Native American jokes, because why not do tasteless bullshit? Yeah, high times 1, 2, 3. More commentary arguing. Hooray, this is what you pay $19.95 for. Again, to endure Disco Inferno and Mark Madden on commentary, the fans should have been paid 20 goddamn bucks. I mean, the wrestlers need to make money, but god damn it. I mean, seriously, when Jeremy Borash, of all people, is your best commentator, and he wasn't bad, don't get me wrong, passionate wrestling fan, that's not good. So, the Not Nitro girls show up. Right after Terry Taylor interviews this puppet, midget killer guy that says he wants to be the only midget left alive. That's actually what he said, or at least the only midget left in wrestling. Then the Not Nitro girls dance around. Puppet the midget killer took on Tio. I don't know anything about these guys. I don't know if they're still alive. I hope they are. I hope they're in good health. Falls Count Anywhere match. A jump start, and this was stupid. A lot of short jokes. The short jokes were kind of funny, because short jokes are funny. This was complete bullshit with a lot of weapons and a lot of bullshit. And they wanted... Disco and Mark were actually, yeah, we want to see the puppets bleed, or the, midgets bleed and die. We don't actually want to see them bleed and die. And I would say that Mark, that could happen to Mark, but I mean, Mark doesn't have a heart. He doesn't have any blood in his goddamn body. He's a fucking, brainless, heartless jackass. So anyway, we get a thumbtack spot, and that T.O. guy got pinned. And then Scott Steiner shows up, beats all the midgets, cuts a promo saying that he is here in the WWA, would actually be in WWE within 9 months, and then beat up Disco Inferno, which was actually funny to see, because anytime Disco Inferno gets a shit beat out of him, and seriously, I hope he actually suffered legit injuries, because Disco Inferno's a goddamn moron that does not deserve the platform he gets, because he's a fucking idiot. It is what it is, though. More commentary squabbling. Hooray! Hoovy and Psychosis and Eddie Guerrero had a three-way match for the WWA International Cruiserweight title. Okay. It wasn't bad. It was shorter than the six-way because, of course, you have to cut down a bunch of minutes when you have a three-way instead of a six-way because that's just how numbers work. There were times where this was good. It wasn't the worst thing in the world, though. Hoovy, when Hoovy's not motivated, Psychosis did fine for being Psychosis at this point, and Eddie was on his way back. He ended up winning the championship. He'd be gone soon after going to WWE, going back to WWE within 2 months, I believe. And would have a great feud with RVD, and would, unfortunately, would pass away like 3.5 years after this. By this time, by, February 24th, 2006, he would have been passed away for like 3 months. That's just really sad. Eddie cuts a promo, yells at the fans for whatting him, how he's been, through a whole lot and everything, tells the fans to piss off. And suddenly music hits. It's Jerry Lynn, who was under WWE contract, and many people didn't know he was released. I assume that someone in the company didn't even know he was working for WWE. That's nothing against Jerry Lynn, who was a great talent, but it was such an odd signing, and he was never featured. I think he was featured more on Heat than anything else. So they have a squabble and everything, and they tell each other to quit bitching. Eddie is fired up and everything. They have a brief brawl. He does hit a brainbuster on the outside, but Jerry Lynn gets the last slap, hitting a pile driver in the ring. And then we get more dancing at that J-Lo play song. Seriously, that was the song. The In-Bot are adding that. This is off either... It was off a master tape, either that somebody had taped when they had recorded this pay-per-view or something. I don't fucking know. Let's get to Saboo with Bill Alfonso versus Devin Storm, the former Crowbar, in a no DQ match. This went 20 pissing minutes and had no business going more than 10. Nothing against Devin Storm, nothing against Saboo. Bill Alfonso may have been one of the most infuriating people ever in wrestling, which I guess was by design with the whistle thing, but the whistle thing was way played out before ECW ever started having major financial trouble. And this was 20 fucking minutes of weapons and garbage and bullshit, and at first it was fine, and then it just kept going and going and going and got worse and worse and worse. The crowd was tired at some points. Devin Storm caught his feet trying to do a sunset flip, and I'm glad he didn't really hurt himself, because it looked like he might have snapped his goddamn leg if he had gone through with the whole damn thing, but they hit the table. Saboo ends up accidentally getting hit with a chair by Fonzie, and in the most devastating maneuver in all professional wrestling, the surprise roll-up 1, 2, 3. Seriously, a roll-up won a no DQ match. Nothing's changed in 20 fucking years. Whew. And then, by the way, Saboo was given a chair, goes to beat the shit out of Devin Storm. Fonzie rushes the table up there. I think with entrances, almost 27 minutes was devoted to something that didn't deserve even more than 13 with entrances. Puts the table on there. Saboo runs, gets on this, Tron set, does the trust fall with, the chair, hits a leg drop, and there you go. And then, that's pretty much it. Oh, I'm sorry. No, we have West Hollywood Blondes, Lodi and Lenny Lane against Rick Steiner and Ernest the Cat Miller. Ernest Miller knocks Mark Madden for being a fat ass. I mean, that was kind of funny, the kept knocking Mark Madden storyline continuity from WCW. The feliner kick on Lenny in less than a minute. And also this is after Miller had called him a bunch of, girly boys. Yay! And then the cat attacks Mark Madden a couple times. I don't know if it was actually for story or if he was legit pissed off at him. Hopefully it was the latter, because Mark Madden tends to know how to piss people off by being a goddamn heartless bastard. So anyway, Jeff Jarrett took on Brian Christopher for the WWA Championship. They used a Too Cool theme and muted it. They had to mute it. I imagine that was probably an edit by the person that had the master tape to avoid copyright. But my fucking good, this was not good. Brian Christopher tries to get the crowd on his side by saying, Jeff Jarrett doesn't suck, he swallows. Hooray! More homophobia! And then they have a match that was basically blasé. They battle into the crowd. They do some stuff. Jeff Jarrett pulls out the guitar and does this. They do the 2-referee thing. And then they get the title in there. Low blow. Stroke on the title. 1, 2, 3. And that's pretty much it. This is shorter than the previous one that I did. You know, the Inception. Because there was a lot more stuff to dive into here. This just wasn't very good. It wasn't very good at all. In fact, it was a fucking terrible pay-per-view. The Cruiserweight stuff wasn't bad. There were elements of some stuff that could have worked here, but ultimately it was just ended up being a mess. So let me know your thoughts in the comments. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter handle in the description. I'm John Ritlin. I'll see you soon.